We need to talk. Hey, what's up? It's your boy Magasso. Hope you guys are doing all right, and I hope everything is going well with you guys. We back at it again with another hard-hitting topic. Before we get into the meat of all this, though, I have to say that this video is sponsored by none other than Gameheads. I want to give a big shout out to the team at Gameheads for actually sponsoring this video and for helping me out with today's topic. For those of you who know me already, y'all know that I run a gaming channel and I play video games all the time on it. So yeah, I mean, aside from making balloons and doing some magic tricks every so often, yeah, I play video games on it. Just recently, I had finished a game called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and the game blew me away. I wanted to play the game for a long time, and because I didn't have a pair of headphones, I couldn't play it the way I wanted to play it. But you know, thanks to Gameheads, once again, they sent me an awesome pair of headphones and I was able to experience the game the way it was supposed to be experienced. For those of you who don't know, the game is about Senua going on a quest to try and save her dead lover's soul. The thing that's special about Senua is that she suffers from psychosis, and the reason why the game wants you to experience it fully by using headset is that she has voices in her head, and these voices like are always there whispering, and it's unsettling, but in a good way, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Can you see them over there? Why isn't she looking? Why aren't you looking?
He's in hell high.
Look, up ahead.
Hell high.
You see it too?
You promised you came.
Yes. It is real after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog. The place the Northmen call hell.
This is freaky, guys.
Go back. Go back. It's not safe. Go back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe.
It's eye-opening to know that there are people who actually struggle with these things, and on top of her having the voices in her head, she sees colors more brightly than other colors. She sees things, she can make things out to be something else. She can see people's faces in just things. It's, you know, all of the things that are involved that tie into people who have this condition. And in experiencing this, it made me realize that, you know, there are actually people that are suffering from this, and it was an eye-opening experience, to say the least. And it made me wonder, why do people here in the Bahamas not take mental health seriously? I always wondered that, because there's a certain stigma that's attached with people who are mentally challenged, I guess, if that's the right way to say that, or people who suffer from mental problems, be it schizophrenia, they may have bipolar disorder, anything along the spectrum, which is very broad in terms of people with mental illnesses, and we always just deem them as crazy. And it's always a thing where, even when religion gets involved, where they try to tell these people that they have demons or whatnot. And I don't like the fact that that happens, to be honest. The one thing that I have said in conversation with a lot of people is that mental illness is taken in two steps over here. It's either laughed at and made fun of, or it's shunned completely. Case in point, there are some people who may be like homeless or walking the streets that may suffer from problems. What we tend to do is we tend to make fun of these people, and we tend to memify them, if anything. And it's not funny in the least, you know what I'm saying? It just makes the situation look worse than it already is. But the only thing we can do is point and laugh at them. And I don't think that's the right way to go about that, because these are people who actually need help and they are not getting it. Anyone who I know who plays video games at all, I would encourage them to attempt to try to play Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. it is a game that is like, it will really like get you, you know, and especially if you play it with the headphones and get all the sensations therein. Then there's small little tidbits in the game that make you feel that anxiety that Senyo may be feeling, like the permadeath feature, where like if you die a certain amount of times, the game will be 100% game over and you will have to start from the beginning. That alone, it adds a certain degree of anxiety to it, because now you have to get, you know, this stuff done. And there's a lot of things that were in the game that I really enjoyed. And like I said, the entire experience was very eye-opening. The story was very good. It was very well done out. And what I love about the game mostly is the fact that Ninja Theory didn't just make the game. They did it with the intention of bringing awareness to people about mental illness and what all it entails and what all it can, and how it, you know, one of the many forms of, or some of the many forms of mental illness. On top of which, what I love about what Ninja Theory did was they did their work. They spoke to a psychiatrist who helped them through it. They spoke to recovering people who were recovering from their mental illnesses, and, you know, having them talk them through it. They met with people who are still going through things. They did all of the work to try to make sure that they represented the people and, you know, like mental illness in itself in a good way, so that, you know, they could do what they sought out to do, which is bring awareness to people about this. Now, the thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to be the person to, like, you know, talk about this all by myself. I actually went ahead and did interviews with two people. One is a life coach named Stanya Davis, who is actually my personal life coach. And also I did an interview with Dr. Knowles, who is a psychiatrist at Emanuel Wellness Center. I'm going to show you those interviews right now because I don't want to be the person, like, you know, giving just my opinion. I actually wanted an expert's opinion on this and what they thought of how mental illness is not taken seriously in this country. So here are the interviews. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be right back after that. All right, so my first question is, what's your stance on the seriousness of mental health in the Bahamas?
Okay. Before becoming a life coach, I worked at the Ministry of Education as an assistant school psychologist. I do have a degree. My degree is in psychology. Now, for starters, I like using the name life coach, and a lot of times people ask me, well, why don't you do therapy, or why don't you do counseling, or why don't you call it something else? Why do you call it life coaching? I prefer wearing that hat because of the stigma associated with mental health as well. In this country, honestly, plain speaking, it kind of sucks a bit. Yeah,
you ain't lying about that.
Yeah. And it kind of sucks from many different angles. One part of it is that I think as Bahamians, we don't take mental health as serious as we should. And of course, you and I had this conversation before, but when we talk about mental health, we're talking about it's just not this one box. It's a few, it's a combination of boxes, or mental health may show up in a variety of ways. And so I think for us, when we think about mental health, we think we literally say you're crazy.
Yeah, it has a negative stigma attached to it.
Yeah, and that's not the situation. Or we may think, or there's some people who may think that mental health really is only for people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia or things like that. And even with schizophrenia, I've heard people say that they're just acting that way. They're just pretending to be, act like this or what have you.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, though, mental health doesn't always look like that. It also looks as though, it looks like someone having a hard time navigating the end of a relationship. It looks like someone feeling, a feeling of despair, or not feeling good enough, or having family trauma and drama. it looks like different things. But, you know, for the most part here in the Bahamas, we just pretty much say, you know, get over it, suck it up, and then move on.
What do you think can or should be done to change the stigma about mental health in this country? Because it's not, I agree with you, it's not taken seriously at all, and it should be, it really should be, but I don't know what to say in order to get it done like that. What do you think should be done?
Mm-hmm. The first thing for us as a community or as a society is that we have to understand, first of all, what it looks like. We have to understand, okay, what it looks like when someone is being diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at it, or we have to become familiar with what depression looks like. And a lot of times, you know, I was talking to someone, and what came up, they kept saying that this person is angry and enraged. We don't look at depression from this angle, but a lot of times people who are depressed, they come across, let me say that, as angry because they're very frustrated.
Mm.
So we have to educate ourselves, first of all, with what does this look like? You know, and the different ways that it may show up. Okay. We also have to, you know, familiarize ourselves, or we have to kind of, you know, take it down a notch or two and be a little bit more understanding.
Okay.
You know, then, you know, another part of it is the education in terms of, like I said, there are not many psychiatrists or people who work with persons in the mental health area. Mm-hmm. And so think about this now. I mean, like, are we really promoting people to, you know, go away and, you know, study psychology or become a psychologist or become a psychiatrist? Are we even painting this picture?
So regarding the stigma, I think it has a lot to do with people not understanding, out of ignorance. I'll be real honest with you. And in that regard, basically, if you don't understand something, you tend to not respect it, and you tend not to even want to talk about it in terms of getting the facts. I find that's very more so prevalent in our culture. And so one of the best ways that we can do to mitigate the stigma is to do exactly that, talk about it. Educate people about mental illness, educate people that there's no shame in mental illness. And one of the analogies I tend to use is somebody who may have an insult to their pancreas. If that is the case, they may become diabetic. Or even in the case of somebody who has maybe a heart issue, they may develop hypertension. But it's the same thing, the brain is an organ just like the heart, just like the pancreas. So it is not immune to insult, it's not immune to not functioning optimally. And so when I break it down in that regard, especially to persons who have diabetes and hypertension, they really begin to understand, well, yes, you know, this is an illness very similar to those other conditions.
Okay.
So that's one thing I think we can do. I think there needs to be more public health announcements, public health messages out there, making people aware of mental illness. And the reason why this is so serious is the fact not only with this COVID-19 pandemic, but even prior to that, the World Health Organization, they predicted from as far back, I think it's 2013, that depression will be the #1 disease by 2030.
Has it gotten there yet?
With this COVID-19, I'm almost certain that we've reached there. So even here in our little Bahamas, this one little island, so many people I've seen and I've worked with who are dealing with depression, anxiety, not to mention even schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Some persons would have developed an addiction to alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, even as a result of the pandemic, because no way to cope. They don't have any coping skills of how to deal with it. And so it's going to become a much necessary need for us to talk about mental health, to make people aware and to get people the help that they need now more than ever.
On the lower end of the spectrum, I mean, you know, we as a society, you know, there are people who are, you know, they come across as very angry, they're frustrated, they have all these things going on. They have parent issues, they have abandonment issues, they have rejection issues. A lot of, you know, we've seen a spike in, you know, suicides, or even there have been, I mean, murders in the past. I don't keep up with that, too much negative energy, but in the past where it has been, you know, disputes between, you know, relationships. You know, people unable to really process or even unable to let go. So, you know, maybe if they had someone to talk to. And in many cases, they don't.
I want someone like you to be able to tell this, because a lot of people will ask the question, what is the difference between someone just merely talking to a friend of theirs who can help them, who they feel can help them, and the difference between that and talking to a psychiatrist?
So I think the difference, for starters, is that the person is trained. They have a way of doing things, of helping you arrive where it is that you choose to arrive at. The difference is also that it is an unbiased approach. They don't have a horse in the race, so to speak. They don't know these people or what's really going on. So, so they're coming from a different angle as well. Okay. And sometimes, think about it now. Everybody has been through something, and we've had a friend that we could talk to. But sometimes, we done talk this story about 20,000 times. They didn't tide us. So.
How does it make you feel when a person, especially here in the Bahamas, attributes a person with mental illness to them having demons or demonic possession, or they just throw religion into it and think that will fix it? Like, what is first off, how do you feel about it? And secondly, is there anything that you do or do you think that we can do as a people? Because we can't just say, hey, stop doing that. But at the same time, it's hard for people in our culture to understand that, hey, I understand your religion is this, but this is an actual serious issue that this person needs help in. Yeah. So
absolutely. So I would have addressed that many times.
Yeah, I am sure. I am seriously sure about that. Yeah.
I don't mean to sound rude or offend anyone.
That's
but
fine.
I call that religious ignorance. Because of the fact that, again, to think that somebody who is battling depression or battling a mental illness has a demonic spirit or demonic entity, and thinking that, not understanding the pathophysiology of how the brain works, I think it shows ignorance. And so I really cannot cater to that. And so I would have spoken to quite a few clergymen in public settings, conferences, and informing them, please, if that is your thinking, please understand that why you need to get rid of that. Because again, not everybody who has a mental illness is demon possessed. Yes, there may be instances, but to kind of make that seem as if
that's the whole spectrum. Yeah,
exactly.
And as a matter of fact, that is huge in our society because we are a Christian nation.
Yeah.
Well, for starters, if that's not working, if they don't lay hands upon you, boo, and you still feel in a certain way, then you got to do something else. Or as someone said, you need Jesus, but you need a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or a life coach too. And we have to just get to the point where where there's that awareness. We really have to. And let me say this too. This is my disclaimer now. I love God. I do. Boo, boo, boo. I'm more spiritual, but I love God. I'm just not a fan of religion or church. Okay. Because I feel as though there's a part of it where we don't, persons don't take responsibility sometimes. It's everybody else but you, everybody out to get you. Yeah. Then on top of that, you're born into sin, so you're done bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then of course,
church is like its own political party.
Yeah, and of course there's this casting out of demons, and which gives the negative connotation that there's something wrong with you. You understand? And so there are a lot of people who are living with these, and we're talking about, like I said, there's one part of it where, someone may just have difficulty ending a relationship. And then there's another part where they may be bipolar or schizophrenic or multiple personality or narcissistic personality or histrionic or all these other things where, so they're laying hands on you, and so you're not going to get the help because you're thinking that it's one thing when it's not that, it's this other thing. When you can get medication, you can have medication, you can have therapy, and you can actually still live a normal life.
And so again, it goes back to making people aware, and I break it down in a lot of my presentations to the point where I show people exactly what happens at the cellular level of the brain that would cause persons to develop a mental illness. For instance, serotonin is known as the happy neurotransmitter. So if there is an imbalance where there's very little of that, people are more likely to become depressed. We know that. That's based on research.
Okay.
Right. Similarly, with an addiction, we know that, for example, the dopamine is another neurotransmitter. Persons get elevated very high with that from use of alcohol and substances and possibly even gaming can be an addiction too. So when there's an imbalance in those neurotransmitters, we are finding, based on the research, that tends to lead to mental illnesses. All right, and so therefore that certainly debunks the talk that
the
persons
religion
are demon possessed because of having a mental illness. And I want people to stop that, especially clergymen and women,
Yeah.
to really not do that, because that again contributes to the stigma. It causes people not to get the help that they need.
After I described to you the description about how the game went, do you think that Ninja Theory, do you think that the that's the name of the company that made the game, do you think that things like that are needed, like more things like that are needed to help promote the you know the realism of mental illness? Because I saw when they won the BAFTA award, and they one of the guys said that it's simply amazing the fact that a medium such as video games could be used to an effect
teach.
as like
And educate.
Being able to do stuff like that.
I talked about, educating people about the way it looks, like what it looks like. And that's one of the things that we may kind of just dismiss. We might say that, it's everybody else, or that's just the way I am. Like I get very afraid when I hear that too.
Yeah.
So, this is what it looks like too.
So I do think the whole gaming, the video game concept regarding the mental illness and making people more aware of it, I think is a very good thing.
Yeah. Like I've been made aware, and I want to make everyone else aware, not just to like play the game, but to actually be aware of mental health.
Sure.
And I realized through and through that there is no real attention to detail. So my final question would be like, aside from everything you said, what else can be done to like change our country's narrative on what mental health is, like the seriousness of it, like how serious they should take it?
So it's going to take an active approach because of the prevalence of the stigma, and that not only on the Providence, even on the Family Islands. And so again, I reiterate public education. If we can reach out to the public, even if it's on ZNS or Paper Bahamas, or any of our local, or all of them, where we have segments to inform people of mental illness. At least some people become educated. At least those who are battling it can then learn about the resources of where they can go to get help. I think we also need to start from the younger population, children, getting them to be aware of mental illness and the importance of it, and then recognizing that they too are not immune to having mental illness. I've seen a lot of kids, as anecdotal as that sounds, since this COVID pandemic, persons, because their whole lives have been disrupted. Not going to school anymore, not seeing their friends, college students, so a lot of them develop anxiety. Those would be the two main ways I'm personally going to continue to do my speaking engagements to educate more people as best as I can. I would like to be able to branch out to the Family Islands because it's so secretive there. So much is happening. People don't really talk about it. And I'm the one that I tend to talk about issues that I see it. Because in that way, people get the help.
In terms of insurance now, there are some insurance companies that actually they have something in the insurance plan where it is covered. And honestly,
really?
then
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there is something. And even me, as a life coach, actually, I did some research, and I can get it. There's some things that you have to go through and fill out forms, but no, it is. So we do have some things in place, but then see, if nobody know about it, then it don't really exist too.
Exactly.
So I think we have to first start with understanding and education. We just how we running all these ads for different things. Let's run some ads about what it looks like or what it feels like, or playing these games as you shared. And education doesn't have to look the way that we know it to look. It can look like a game. It can if we put it in our schools in the curriculum. If we, in different ways, we have to understand really what's going on, so that when it shows up, then we can say, oh, okay, boo-boo, it's time for you to go now. You got to go this way, or let's find someone who can really help you. Okay. So that we're not looking at it as though it's this demonic thing.
Thank you very much, Stanya. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sean. I really appreciate you letting me come and interview you. It's been a pleasure. I hope this video helps.
Yes,
I really do.
So
just as much as the game helped me realize this, all right?
Yeah.
So see y'all later, all right?
Those are the interviews with Stanya Davis and Dr. Sean Knowles. If you liked this video, you can give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. If you have anything you have to say, you can leave a comment down below, because that's what the comment section is for. Also, if you want to support me on my channel, you can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. You can do that. But I want to keep this conversation going, and if you agreed or disagreed with anything here, please don't message me on WhatsApp, don't message me on Facebook. Put it in the comments, for goodness sakes, because y'all is do bad. I hope these conversations are something that can actually get started around this country, because I want there to be people who actually consider these things, because I know that people are out there suffering from this thing, and it would be a great help if we were to all start taking this at least a little bit seriously in this country. Maybe mental illness can even be looked down upon in different parts of the world, but that doesn't mean that we have to be the same way. We can actually be a change, and I think that in other countries mental illness is taken seriously than this one, and I think that's one thing that needs to change. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, I have to give a huge shout out to Game Heads for sponsoring this video and for sponsoring me the headset to be able to play Send a Sacrifice. If you haven't played that game, play it. I urge you, because it is the best eye-opener you will ever have in terms of this topic. This is your boy Magaso signing off again, and I hope y'all take it easy. Peace, love, and hair grease. Y'all take it easy. I will see y'all on the next one.